Good evening, people. Welcome back to Cruising on Crypto. I am Craig. So if you want a channel that talks about crypto, well, there's a lot of them. But if you want a channel that talks about crypto in terms of you earning passive income by owning crypto, such as staking, yield farming, and now the new exciting area called Defi 2.0, which is often considered an OHM fork, the DAOs, the Olympus DAOs, the Wonderlands, the Spartacus I talked about last episode. And in this episode, we're going to talk about Templar DAO. And as you can see from the thumbnail behind me, I am not even kidding when I say mind-blowing returns. Right now, and it's been higher than this actually, it is paying 2.2 million% APY. And there's a lot of things about Templar DAO that I like. I already owned this, and I actually used it in an example with the last episode on Spartacus, because the Spartacus bonds were not at a discount, and I wanted to show you how you could buy a bond at a discount. So I had to jump over to Templar DAO. And as you can see, if you go back and watch that episode, I already owned a bunch of Templar DAO, which I showed on the screen. So this is not me, well, my money's where my mouth is on this one. I already have money in this, but I have to preface this by saying, just because I invest in something does not mean you should invest in something. I know what my risk profile is. I'm also aware that anything in crypto, any money you put in crypto is at risk of going to zero. So keep that in mind. Do not invest anything in crypto of any kind if it's not money that in the back of your mind you're thinking, what if I lose it all? So this cannot be your rent money. This cannot be money you need to live on. This is supposed to be aggressive investment money, put it that way. And on the scale of safest to riskiest, the DAOs are definitely on the risky side, because there's usually a relationship between risk and reward. Since there's a whole lot of reward, 2.2 million% APY, it goes without saying that there's probably a fair bit of risk. And risk can be equated in a bunch of ways. It could mean going to zero. Your investment goes to zero. Not very likely, but always possible. A lot of times risk is more talking about the volatility of the price of the coin, in this case, the TEM coin. It can go from $600 to $300 to $700 to $400, like within days. So if that kind of roller coaster ride of emotions is going to kill you, give you a heart attack, then definitely don't get into this. All that preface aside, though, I feel, just for me, that the risk is worth it for the unbelievable, mind-blowing returns. And there's a lot of features about Templar DAO that I really, really like, and I want to get into it in this episode. So let's jump over to the main page. Okay, here we are on the main page of Templar DAO, and there's a lot of data here that's very important for you to feel like safe, that this is not going to go to zero, and that there's some backing there. Let's just talk about it, though. There's numbers here, but just in case the developers of Templar DAO are watching, I know I've made a comment to one of the developers that I think they really need. They are an OHM fork after all. And if you look down here, part of their treasury is actually invested in Olympus DAO, the original, DAO, the OHM that everybody's forked off of. But we'll talk about these numbers, but just one criticism here. This is Olympus DAO's front page, and I'm a visual person. You're probably a visual person because you're watching YouTube. I like to see the number in graphical form, so I can tell if the number is getting better or if the number is getting worse. And there's a lot of all the numbers are the same on Templar. They just show you the number, not the graph. I want the graph. So Templar, please get your web developer guy to change that. But let's go back and show you the same numbers that are on Olympus DAO are here on Templar. So they got the market cap. The price right now is 403. Got to keep in mind the backing. So what the backing really is the treasury value of the whole treasury of the Templar DAO divided by the circulating supply. So let's go back to Olympus just for a split second. This is the market value. So they're backing, which they say somewhere on here, backing $128. You can see they're much more expensive than Templar in terms of the ratio of price to backed staking. But backed staking is really just this market value of all the treasuries divided by the circulating supply. So in case you're wondering where they're getting that number from, that is where they get it from. So you can see here, the ratio is quite reasonable. It's not even 2 to 1. So the price of Templar DAO right now is 403.61. And the backing, which is the total value of all the treasury divided by the circulating supply. So it's got that safety net for you to lean back on and know that, you know, it shouldn't fall much below the 218, even if the market is like rip your face off bear market. You know what I mean? So if we have a terrible downdraft in the market, at least with these DAOs, you have a backing of what the treasury is. Now, here's something I want to mention from the front page that I absolutely love. So they are smart enough to know that they are a young DAO. And with a young DAO, you get these crazy APYs of 2,196,000%. You're going to wonder, how do they get that number? We'll talk about that. But what they realize, they're new, so they can give a great rate of return. Unlike Olympus DAO, which they actually take some of their treasury and invest that in so that their treasury is growing by investing in the granddaddies of the space. So they've got some of their money in Olympus DAO. And look at the rate of return for Olympus DAO. And this is the real return if I went back to their website, 7,083%. I know it's still great, right? 7,083%. But by a DAO standard, that's really low. That's really, really low. But that's because Olympus DAO was the original. It might also have something to do with the Olympus DAO is on the Ethereum network, which means when they auto compound, which all of these DAOs do, there's a lot of gas fees that got to get eaten there by Olympus DAO, and that might take away from the return. The other one that's kind of like the next oldest and next safest, a lot of people like this one the best. In fact, if I was to pick the safest one that I would invest in, it would be Wonderland, which has got the coin called Time. They've also obviously believe in it as well because they've invested some of their treasury in that as well so that their treasury will grow. And their the rate of return APY on Wonderland is 75,000%. So that's very respectable. It's not 2.2 million, but it's very, very good. So just so you know, that's where it is. Now, you also might want to find out where's the rest of the treasury. The way to find that out is to go in the bonds area. So you click bonds. And this is where you can buy a bond to get a discount on the TEM price. We already told you it was at $403. So if you buy a bond that's consisting of the TEM BUSD liquidity pool token, you get a 16.15% discount on the price of TEM. And that TEM is released to you equally over a 5-day period. So after 5 days, you've got all the TEM, and you've gotten that entire 16.22. It just went up. 16.22% discount. If I bought it right now, I get that discount right now, and I'll get a little bit of the TEM bond that I can then stake while the days, during the 5 days, some of it comes unlocked every 8 hours, and you invest it and you get the rate of return, which we'll talk about the rate of return. If you got BUSD, you buy that bond, it's 12.65%, and BNB, not really giving you a great return right now, 2.49%. These numbers change. They're not always in this order. There's times where the Treasury, I guess, just wants more BNB bonds with BNB, and that'll be higher than BUSD. And other times BUSD would be higher. So just check back whenever you've got some spare dry powder to invest. Come back here and see what the discounts are. Now let's go over to the staking side. So let's just say you want to know, should I buy a bond or should I just go ahead and buy the TEM coin and stake it? So you click the staking button, and as you can see here, let me zoom in on that. Right now, you're getting 0.9267% return, not once a day, 3 times a day. Every 8 hours, these things rebase. And if you come up here, it'll tell you how many hours and minutes are left before the next rebase period. As long as you can get coins in here before that clock hits 0, you get credit for the whole time. So right now you can see I have 23.2520 sword coins, which is their I guess wrapped coin. You invest TEM, it shows you in sword. It's confusing, but you know, when you cash out, you'll still have TEM. Long and short, I got 23.25. In 6 hours and 11 minutes, I'm going to get another 0.2154, which is this 0.9267% for the 8 hours. If I was to add a bunch of TEM coins right now, let's say I doubled it to like almost 50, then my number of coins, as long as I got it in before the 6 hours and 11 minutes is up, would double. If I doubled the amount of sword when you put TEM in, it turns it into sword, confusing. If I double the amount of sword, then I would get double the amount of return, even if I put it in 2 minutes before the rebase happens. So there's a bit of a gamification of DeFi here. So as long as you get in before the clock hits 0, you get credit for the whole 8 hours. So that's 0.9267 every 8 hours. So if you multiply that by 3, I'll bring over my little spreadsheet. So I make this for any of my, liquidity pools or anything I get in. I find out what my daily APR is. And you can put any number in here. A nice round number of 10,000. And that number of 0.9267 times 3 is 2.8% per day. Per day you're getting. So if you had $10,000, you can say what it would be worth after every day. Now keep in mind, you don't have to reinvest this manually like you have seen on some of my previous videos where you got to collect the rewards, convert them into an LP token, and then reinvest them. It's a 3-stage process. All of those stages cost you gas fees. The great thing about these DAOs is it's auto compounded. Every 8 hours you get the credit, and those new coins go into your principal and get credited for the next 8-hour period. And then that reward goes in and gets credited for the next 8-hour period. No gas fees, no muss, no fuss. So this is perfect because this spreadsheet never did show the gas fees. This is just something I created myself. But you can see that your $10,000, if you go down to day 30 at the end of a month, or 31, depending on how many days in the month, let's just go 30, your $10,000 is worth $22,897. So in 1 month, you've more than doubled your money. And the exponential, mind-blowing power of compound interest is the longer you go out, the steeper the curve gets. In fact, up here in the highlighted box here, you can see that after a year, assuming I got this return for the entire year, my $10,000 would be worth, oh my goodness, big number, $238 million. That's right. That's the, again, mind-blowing power of daily compounding. And in fact, this is probably underselling it because this isn't daily compounding on a DAO. It's actually compounding every 8 hours. So that number is probably underselling it. But as you can see, it works out to be 14.84% in 5 days. All the DAOs do it that way. They don't do it in a week. They always do it in 5 days. The bonds get released to you in 5 days. The rate of return they always quote is in 5 days. I guess because OHM started that way, that's the way they all do it. You would think logically that they would go by how much you make a week, but it is what it is. Let's go back and say, okay, so what am I going to want to do? Do I want to buy a bond or do I want to buy TEM directly and just stake it right away? So let's go back to the bonds. Keep in mind, you're getting 14.84% for 5 days. Go back to the bonds. Is anything paying close to that? Yes, it is. The liquidity pool token is giving you a discount of more than that 14.8%. It's actually giving you 16.28%. So clearly, that is the better investment. So you would create the liquidity pool token, you'd buy the bond, and you get 16.28% discount given to you over 5 days. But there's a bonus to buying a bond. That is, you don't get all these TEM coins at the end of the 5 days. It gets released to you every few minutes. You'll see your little number of TEM coins that you can claim goes up. Even BUSD, I think, would be better to get than staking directly. And that's because the formula works out this way. If you got the 12.75% discount and you time released it, and you actually kind of set an alarm on your phone or whatever that every 8 hours before this clock hits 0, you come over here and take your claimed TEM and you invest it, you will get about 50% of this 14.8%. So let's just round it down to be conservative. Let's say you're going to get 7% return because you're staking during those 5 days every time you can claim more coins. So you're getting half of 14, so 7, plus the 12. The 12.76, so almost 13. So we're getting almost 20% rate of return in just 5 days. Again, mind-blowing, right? The only one that's not worth doing is the BNB bond right now because it's 2.56%. So let's just do an example. I'm going to show you, I'm going to buy some BUSD bonds. So right now I've got $900 in BUSD. Let me just buy $300. $300 in BUSD. So I put $300 in there and click bond. My little thing pops up saying, making sure my gas fee's right, hit sign. You're going to get the pending thing. As you know, if you've been in crypto, we're on the Binance Smart Chain right now. It's not instant, so you got to sort of sit and wait, and it depends on how busy the blockchain is, if it's going to be 30 seconds or if it's going to be 2 minutes or 3 minutes. But when this is done, then those $300 bond will be purchased, and I'll show you on the bond page what it looks like. Okay, there you go. So when you see the bond button light up again, it's already been invested. So now go to the top of the page, hit bond, and there you go. Now you can see, before you could only see the stuff at the bottom because I didn't own a bond at that time. Now I have a $300 worth of BUSD bond that's going to be claimable a little bit. I guess every few minutes I get a little bit more claimable. So of that, I'm going to get 0.838 TEM coins that will get released over 5 days. And when I get that released, I'll be able to hit claim and stake. This button's right here is takes a 2-step process and turns it into a 1-step process, which I really like about Templar. They don't all do that. I could just claim it, and then I'd have to go onto the staking page and stake it. Or you just hit this claim and stake. So as I have claimable bonds, claimable TEM, I hit claim and stake. Try and do that as close to when the clock is hitting 0, like 5-10 minutes before the clock hits 0. So you can get the maximum amount of claimable before the clock runs out. And when you hit claim and stake, it will show up over here. So then I will have, instead of 23.52 or 25, I will have the new claimable plus this new 0.2154. So I'll end up having about almost 24 sword or TEM coins. So there you go. That is how you buy bonds to get a discount. But again, it's not always a good deal. You've really got to look at the bonds and decide, is it pretty close? Is the discount pretty close to the 5-day rate of return? It doesn't have to be over it. It just has to be close, because like I say, as long as you're claiming along the way, you can count on getting about half of the rate of return from just staking alone. But when you stake, keep in mind, there's not too many other places you can get this kind of rate of return and don't have to do anything. You don't have to claim any rewards. You don't have to create liquidity pool tokens. You don't have to pay gas fees to deposit things. This is literally set and forget. If you didn't plan to buy any more bonds, let's say you're maxed out on this DAO, you want to move on to another DAO. You say, I don't want to put any more into this one. You could just walk away. Just walk away. Don't even look at it. Come back in a month. See what it's worth. Now, here's a really cool thing. I showed you my little spreadsheet, showed you how much money it could be worth. But they've got this little tab called Blessing. That's kind of fun. So let's say I have 24 TEM coins or sword coins, whatever you want to call them. The present price is 403. And they always do this. They always say, oh, it's going to be worth double that. Well, be conservative and say it's not worth, well, let's say it's not worth any more. 403.61. It's worth exactly the same amount. Now, the slider here shows 5 days. That's where it defaults to. That's one rebate, one return ROI period, 5 days. But let's say 30 days. Let's say you can count on this rate of return being about that for 30 days. More than that, you start having to factor in that maybe the ROI is going to fall or the APY is going to fall over time. But for 30 days, you feel pretty confident. So my original investment for 24 coins was $9,686. In 30 days, it would be worth, that sounds very similar to what my spreadsheet said, didn't it? $22,220. They also have a funny little line here going, potential number of Lambos you would own. So let's have some fun with that. So let's say we're going to go out 120 days. And let's say the price isn't going to stay exactly at 403. Let's give it the credit of in 120 days. It's going to be worth $700. And we're going to drag this out to 120 days. 120, 20, 20. Come on. There we go. Close enough. 121. The slider's a little finicky. I'm going to be the proud owner of 2 Lambos. They are calling it a 2021 Lamborghini Hurricane with no options. Bare bones Hurricane, I guess. I don't know if a Hurricane even needs options. It's probably pretty fully loaded. But in 120 days, my $9,686 is worth $478,213. Auto compounded without you having to lift a finger. Now, some people might say, yeah, but can you really expect to get 2.2 million %, the whole time? No. Well, you could take this number down too. You could say instead of 2.2 million, you say it's over the whole period. If you averaged it, you're going to get, 1,800,000. So you brought it down. You're saying the average over the whole period. So at the start, it's 2.2. And by the end, it's 1.5. And on the average, it's 1.8. It brings it down now. I only own one Lambo. I guess it just barely misses the cut because I still have $432,000 from my $9,686 investment. So that just goes to show you the amazing, power of compounding, not just even daily compounding, but actually compounding every 8 hours. And again, I can't stress it enough, without you having to do anything. So there you go. So going back to the main page, again, just want to highlight a couple of things. So the one thing that is important is to see this runway going up. It has gone up. I've been watching it. I wish they had a graph to show it, but 186 days is what it's at. It used to be 170 something days, and that's what you want to see. That the Treasury, the value of all these bonds that they've been selling is pretty much where most of the Treasury comes from. As people buy these bonds, that fills the Treasury. Also, the Treasury is trying to make return on the Treasury they have. As you can see, some of the Treasury is just a stable coin like BUSD. Even BNB, it's a growth coin, but it's not a hyper growth coin. You know what I'm saying? So, and the liquidity pool token is TEM, which is its own coin, and BUSD. So they're, other than BUSD, the rest are growth coins. Plus, as we said, they've gone cross-chain to Ethereum for Olympus and to Avalanche for Wonderland. So they're going cross-chain that way, but they're also talking about having a roadmap of going cross-chain themselves, which means they might end up having a Templar DAO listing on not just Binance Smart Chain, which is where it is now, but eventually to Avalanche or to who knows what chain. But that's in their roadmap. If you want to know more about their roadmap, you can go to down here at the bottom of the screen. Hopefully I'm not blocking it. I am blocking it. Let me make myself just a tiny bit smaller. There we go. I'm wee now, just a wee guy. Down here at the bottom, you see documents, Twitter, a Telegram. Everything you would ever want to know about this project is here. So if you go into their documents, you click it, and it's all about Templar, and you can read all about it. It's, it gives you all the detail, what their roadmap is and all that. Obviously, you don't want me to waste your time reading it, but that's what's there. If you go back to Twitter is obviously the area that you get the latest announcements, which is great. So if you want to know what's coming up, if something new and exciting is coming, you're going to probably hear about it first on Twitter. Telegram is great for talking to developers and administrators. So if you go on Telegram, there's, it's like one big long chat session. So you can see here, this is the Templar DAO Telegram, and you can go through and read all the stuff. This is more like people just having fun talking about Templar DAO. There is obviously some good information in here as well. There are administrators in here that if somebody's misrepresenting what Templar is all about, they'll correct them and whatnot. So yeah, if you want to know all about it, there's just so many ways to get on Templar and find out anything you'd want to know. And the community, especially on Telegram, is, it's people that generally like talking about Templar, so you can learn a lot from those people. And the last thing that's true of just about everything on the blockchain is just how transparent everything is. You can find the contract location for the Treasury. You can find out the contract location for if they're burning coins, where the burn wallet is. It's all transparent. So again, go on the Telegram group, ask the admins if you're not sure, just say, hey, what's the contract address for this? I want to see what's in the Treasury. And it's all there for anybody to inspect. So that gives you a lot of peace of mind, right? So between the backing price always being there of the Treasury that's there, which a lot of it is what you see in the bonds, which is a lot of BUSD, BNB, and BUSD matched with themselves in a liquidity pool token. Those are the things that are really giving you the backbone of that protection that it can't go to zero. Unless you think BNB is going to go to zero, which highly unlikely. BUSD, a stable coin backed by Binance, never going to zero. And the liquidity pool token is half BUSD, which also is not going to zero. So like I said at the beginning, with crypto, you always have to say, what if? What if, it goes to zero? Are you prepared for that? But if you've got this level of backing, as long as you've got the confidence in the developer team and the project's been around for a while, then in this case, you can pretty confidently say, this is not going to go to zero. Unlike the meme coins that aren't backed by anything, the Shiba Inus or the whatever coin you want to pick that is all hype and the price goes up because it's that greater fool theory where it only goes up in price because you bought it at $200, but you think you can sell it to somebody else at $400. And that person buys it from you at $400 because they think they can sell it to somebody for $800. It's the greater fool theory until that bubble pops. Until we're in a raging bear market and then everybody's like, I don't want anything to do with that coin. And it goes from who knows what to nothing. I mean, coins just literally disappear off the market because they collapse. And if you got backing like this, then you don't really have to worry about that. So there you go. Well, hopefully you found this episode about Templar DAO informative about, wow, those rates of return, and a little bit comforting to know that there is a fairly good level of backing in stable coins and other coins that are certainly not going to zero. So you've got that safety of that, and you've got the unbelievable returns. Doesn't seem like a bad investment, does it? Again, not financial advice. So hopefully you found this entertaining and informative. If so, again, show the channel some love by giving it a thumbs up. And until next time, this is Craig signing off, wishing you happiness, health, and wealth in that order. Ciao for now.